What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Progressive Action TV show. I am your host, the one and only Tramel Thompson. You guys see the title of the show today. New explosive information against TWU Local 100 President Richard Davis. How is everyone doing today? What's going on in y'all lives? I could tell y'all what's going on in Richard Davis' life. He's not trying to be accountable for his actions. In fact, he's trying to play the blame game. And we're going to talk all about that tonight. Now, before I get into this information, right? I want you guys to share this out on y'all page. Take 60 seconds. Share out the video. We gotta let as many people know as possible, you know, what's really going on here. Because you know my motto when it comes to them, they love to be corrupt in peace. They want to be corrupt. They don't want to be questioned. They don't want nothing. They just want you to go along to get along. That's all they're worried about, is going along to get along. That's it. I'm just trying to make sure everything is where it needs to be, people. Give me a second. Yeah. Shout out to everybody watching on YouTube. Shout out to everybody watching on Twitter. Shout out to everybody watching on Facebook. Take a little bit of time out and share out the live. I'm sharing it out right now. And we're going to get in this information. We're going to dive deep. And like I said, I have some new information. New information regarding his case. And you know what? It feels good to have, you know, people who he's around, who I guess he trusts them, but they mess with me more. Oh man, this is going to be a very, 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 very interesting show. So I don't want to waste too much time. For those who don't know what's been going on in Richard Davis' life, his ex, Nicole Hecker, has brought up a lawsuit under a law called Gender Motivated Violence, GMV. And the law, you could go back up to 9 years regarding whatever your claim is, gender motivated violence, right? Now, he has that lawsuit. It's on the internet. Anyone could take a look at it. And there were some documents floating back and forth regarding this lawsuit. And I actually want to read the lawsuit for you so you guys can get a clear picture as to what is really going on. Let me set that up. Give me 1 second. Let me set that up because you guys need to see everything that's going on here. And I'm going to read it. And you guys are going to be very surprised, man, at the stuff that I'm reading and the route that him and his lawyers, Dennis Engel, which is also the union attorney, general counsel for the union. I don't know how they get away with that, but you know, it is what it is. But they are playing the blame game. They don't want to take accountability, or I would say Richard Davis do not want to take accountability for his actions. What he would rather do is say what I'm about to read regarding this document. And let's get straight into it. And I'm going to show you guys everything, right? We're going to discuss all of this. And some of this is going to be very, very surprising to you guys. So this says, affirmation of Dennis Engel. Dennis Engel is the general counsel for the union. He is Richard Davis' attorney. So from the outside looking in, Richard Davis is using the union attorney to fight a private civil case. I just want you guys to keep that in your head, that this is what's going on from the outside looking in. Dennis A. Engel Esquire, an attorney duly admitted to practice before the courts of this state under penalties of perjury, hereby affirms the truth of the following. Now, that boggles my mind by itself. How can he affirm something as if he's the defendant? But whatever. I am a member of the firm of Callahan, O'Hara, and Mills, LLP, attorneys for the defendant Richard Davis in the above caption action. I am fully familiar with the facts and circumstances set forth herein. I respectfully submit this affirmation in support of defendant Richard Davis. Motion for an order to be entered by this court, striking the scandalous and prejudicial allegations in the amended complaint and any and all exhibits annexed thereto pursuant to CPLR 3024B, and 2, removing the scandalous and prejudicial materials from the court's files, electronic and otherwise, so as to protect the defendant and non-parties from unwarranted injury to their names and reputations, and 3, requiring that the parties enter into a protective order pursuant of CPLR 3103 for any and all discovery exchange between the parties for such other and further relief as the court deems just proper and equitable, including the course and disbursements of this motion. Now, what he mean by that is that he don't want us to have access to whatever evidence Ms. Hecker and her attorney, Ms. Lindsay, provides, right? Now, this gets deeper. Let's dive a little deeper. A copy of the amended complaint and accompanying exhibits are annexed hereto as Exhibit 1 to this affirmation. This is an action alleging a breach of the civil tort embodied in the New York City Ordinance, known as the Victims of Gender-Motivated Violence Protection Law. Plaintiff Nicole Hecker alleges that she was assaulted by defendant Richard Davis. This affirmation is not the appropriate forum for litigating those allegations, but Mr. Davis vehemently denies that he has violated the law in any way, and he further maintains that the amended complaint is a politically motivated smearing of his reputation. This suit, Mr. Davis contends, is in furtherance of an upcoming union election at TWU Local 100. Now, picture that. According to the documents in this lawsuit, Richard Davis beat up his girlfriend in 2015, 2016. And he's saying that him beating up his girlfriend and it coming out now is politically motivated. Sir, nobody asked you, according to the lawsuit, to put hands on your ex-girlfriend. What do you expect to happen if you put hands on your ex-girlfriend? But let's continue reading. Richard Davis is the president of TWU Local 100, the largest transportation union in the United States. Local 100 represents transit workers at New York City Transit, MapStower, and MTA Bus Company. Local 100 has over 35,000 members who work in the bus and subway system in New York City. Nicole Hecker is a member of the union. As will be set forth upon information and belief, the case before the court was instigated, at least in part, by non-party Tremel Thompson, a perennial office seeker at TWU Local 100, an opportunist to the union's current leadership. Thompson's involvement is evidenced in part by his communication with plaintiff's lawyer, which included the entirety of Exhibit B to the amended complaint. Thompson's motivation is to cast Mr. Davis in a negative light in the hopes of damaging his reputation with Local 100's membership. Very near in time to the filing of the original complaint, Thompson, who upon information and belief, let me scroll down, upon information and belief, prior knowledge to its filing, disseminated the contents of the complaint over an internet publication show that he uses to pretend that he is a relevant force within Local 100. There they go again. saying that this show is not relevant, but guess what they doing right now to this irrelevant show? They are listening and watching to this show. Thompson may believe that this tactic is necessary to his campaign to become Local 100's president because he has experienced his own difficulties on the job. Thompson's employment status with New York City Transit is precarious due and owing to his having instigated a physical altercation with an incumbent Local 100 vice president, a political opponent of Thompson, and an ally of Mr. Davis. An arbitrator's award squarely places the responsibility for starting the fight on Thompson. Now, I'm glad that he said that because I got a lawsuit pending, so they cannot deny that they are friends and allies, right? Now, why am I in this lawsuit? Why is Richard Davis and Dennis Engel trying to blame this on me? I had nothing to do with what happened in 2015 and 2016. Oh, and guess what, guys? I got some leaked paperwork about 2023. So we're going to get to that. But let me finish reading this lawsuit where they saying that I'm the reason why he in this hot water. In December of 2018, after he lost his bid to unseat then President Tony Utano, Thompson, whom many believe to be intoxicated, nearly caused a brawl at the vote count of his crushing defeat. Yo, this is funny. These facts are included in this affirmation to provide the court with the appropriate context for the necessity of granting the within application. Mr. Davis has a right to believe that this case is a politically motivated hatchet job. He should also be protected by the court because the legal system should not be a tool of political dissidents to besmirch the reputation of a political opponent. Publicly available court filings should not be used as political fodder, especially as here, where the instigator for the suit is the person who is then publicizing the scandalous and prejudicial matters contained therein. Now, let me explain something. Matter of fact, let me finish scrolling down so you guys can see. Included in plaintiff's amended complaint are several statements and exhibits that are scandalous and prejudicial in nature and must be stricken from the amended complaint, which follows is a recitation of those matters. Now, I'm not going to get into all of that, right? Because it's a whole bunch of BS. And I just want to get it clear before I show you the response that Ms. Hecker lawyer has made, Ms. Lindsay, right? Why is Richard Davis blaming his indiscretions on me and saying that it's a political hit job? Why is he doing that? It makes absolutely no sense. Once again, I wasn't there in 2015 and 2016 when she had to run out of the U-Haul truck and run into a car, according to the lawsuit, that I forgot the guy's name, but she had to jump in the car because you were attacking her. This is not because of me when, according to the lawsuit, you attacked her across the street from the Union Hall inside of a grocery store in which her coworker had to see her arm bleeding. That didn't have anything to do with me. For them to use this lawsuit to try to say that it's a politically motivated hit job orchestrated by me, I have nothing to do with that. If anyone checked the history or the record of me even criticizing Nicole Hecker, I've criticized her a couple of times. And another thing is this. Tremel Thompson never said that he was running for president of the union. I never said this election cycle, I never said that I was running for president of the union. In fact, the only thing that was said that I was possibly running for VP. You heard people on my team say that. So why would I need to do this to Richie if I'm not running for his position? It makes absolutely no sense, and they grasping at straws. And I want to read to you guys what Miss Hecker's lawyer actually said, because I think that is very important. So let me get that on the screen. And Miss Hecker lawyer responded back to Dennis Engel's response talking about me, trying to deny. Now, I'm going to make it clear. Richard Davis never denied the allegation. The allegations was never denied. Hold on one second, guys. Yeah, the allegations were never denied. But let's look at what Ms. Hecker, lawyer, responded with. Plaintiff's memorandum in response to defendant's motion to strike. Should I start here? Let me see, where should I start? I'm gonna start there. Plaintiff Nicole Hecker, through counsel, comes now and hereby requests that the defendant's motion to strike be denied in its entirety, as there are no grounds for such a request and no legal basis for one when considering the facts of this case. The affirmation of Attorney Engel is not made upon personal knowledge and contains nothing more than pure speculation and borderline defamatory allegations against a non-party. Yes, Mr. Engel was defaming me on his behalf of that affirmation. This affirmation is legally insufficient on its face and primarily composed of reasons why the defendant's attorney, not the defendant himself, who provides no affirmation or statement, believes that this lawsuit is simply a political move crafted to interfere with the defendant's election for union president. To be clear, the plaintiff's union election and the physical abuse he inflicted on Ms. Hecker have absolutely nothing to do with one another, despite Attorney Engel's completely uninformed opinion. That is a fact. What does one have to do with the other? Mr. Davis' political aspirations are not relevant to this case. His re-election bid is not relevant to this case, and any damage to Mr. Davis' campaign for union president as a result of this lawsuit is not only purely speculative, but also moot. Attorney Engel's affirmation is loaded with speculation, is not made upon personal knowledge, and most importantly, an affirmation from an attorney, especially one not made on the basis of personal knowledge, is not the proper forum to raise defenses to lawsuits, and Mr. Engel leads into his affirmation admitting exactly that. I mean, she's shooting him down. The affirmation of Attorney Engel is statutorily deficient. As an initial matter, the affirmation of Attorney Engel is deficient as a matter of law and must be stricken. Mr. Engel is not a party of this action and does not possess personal knowledge of anything he attempts to affirm, nor does Mr. Engel set forth the grounds for his beliefs as enumerated in this affirmation. Instead, he merely states that I am fully familiar with the facts and circumstances set forth herein. This statement is woefully insufficient and is not in compliance with CPL Law 3021, which states that we ain't gotta worry about what it states. But let's keep reading. Nowhere in Mr. Engel's affirmation does he even hint at what his grounds for belief are, and nowhere within the affirmation is there any statement as to why the defendant cannot speak for himself on these matters, and why it is not Mr. Davis who is making these affirmations. Why isn't Mr. Davis making these affirmations? That needs to be answered. CPL Law 3021 is not ambiguous, and the language is clear. Mr. Engel was required to set forth his grounds for belief and provide an explanation as to why the affirmation is not being made by Mr. Davis. He did neither, and accordingly, as a matter of well-settled law, his affirmation is inadmissible and cannot be considered. It is well-settled law that affidavits or affirmations not based upon personal knowledge are of no evidentiary value and must be disregarded by the court. This decision leaves no room for debate and expressly mandates that the affirmation of Attorney Engel must be disregarded by the court. CPLR 3024 does not require any allegations to be stricken from the complaint. In addition to the highly suspicious strategy of having Mr. Engel submit the affirmation rather than Mr. Davis, the defendant essentially copies and pastes the entire decision from the court in the case of Pistula versus Roman Catholic Archdiocese, whatever that is, I always forget that word, in support of his theory that CPLR 3024 requires that matters included in the plaintiff's complaint must be stricken from the pleading. However, the issues addressed by the court and pistula that the defendant conveniently omits are fatal to his motion. Not included in the defendant's motion are such dicta from the court as motions to strike scandalous and prejudicial matter from pleadings are generally disfavored. Indeed, CPLR 3024 greatly restricts circumstances under which matter may be stricken from a pleading. A logical reading of plain language of the statute indicates that matter which is merely unnecessary should not be stricken from a pleading unless it is first known to be scandalous or prejudicial. Indeed, even the most prolix complaint that is chock full of unnecessary and irrelevant allegations is not subject to any motion to trim the pleading to this necessary call. There is nothing scandalous or prejudicial under the law regarding the allegations that the plaintiff wishes to strike, and certainly no requirement that they be stricken. If the nature and content of an allegation is not actually scandalous or prejudicial, the court's analysis ends quickly and there's nothing to strike from the pleading. I want to get to the good stuff. Because she basically, gets at him in every which way possible and destroys his argument because they really don't have no argument. Their argument is basically, this is politically motivated. Trammell did it, and he wants to be president. That's why he did it. Let me see this. Let me go to page 8. Let me just go down to page 8 for you guys. Look at this right here. The bulk of the defendant's memorandum is pure speculation. The defendant's argument is clearly based upon his fear that this lawsuit will present him in a negative light and affect his union presidency. To demonstrate this, Mr. Davis spends significant space in his motion criticizing, insulting, and borderline defaming a non-party to this action, Mr. Trammell Thompson. It is comical for the defendant to assert that his motion to strike should be granted because the defendant and non-parties must be protected from unwarranted injury to their names and reputations, while spending a significant portion of the motion trashing the name and reputation of non-party Mr. Thompson. This is their defense. Indeed, while suggesting to the court that their motivation is to protect non-parties, the defendant simultaneously insults and defames Mr. Thompson numerous times using pure speculation through both the motion and affirmation. Stating that, now check this out. Upon information and belief, the case before the court was instigated, at least in part, by non-party Trammell Thompson, a perennial office seeker at TWU Local 100, and opportunist to the union's current leadership. That is, he said that. Dennis Engel, Richard Davis' lawyer, said that. This is what they saying. Upon information and belief, Thompson disseminated the contents of the complaint over an internet publication show that he uses to pretend that he is a relevant force within a union. I am a relevant force in this union. That's why y'all are scared. Thompson's employment status with New York City Transit is precarious due and owing to having instigated a physical altercation with an incumbent Local 100 president. In December 2018, after he lost his bid to unseat then President Tony Utano, Thompson, whom many believe to be intoxicated, nearly caused a brawl at the vote count of his crushing defeat. Do you have any proof that I was even drinking? Do you know what was in my cup? In fact, I never released it, but I have video of what really happened. So let's get to that. In Thompson's motivation, adopted by plaintiff lawyer to injure the reputation of not only Richard Davis, but others described in the email. It is the epitome of irony and hypocrisy for the defendant to make these statements about Mr. Thompson, especially upon information and belief, and then assert that the legal system should not be a tool for political dissidents to besmirch the reputation of a political opponent. This level of hypocrisy and unfounded allegations based on pure speculation are littered throughout the defendant's motion and attorney Engel's affirmation. In addition to the baseless and irrelevant allegations made against Mr. Thompson, the defendant further speculates Let's get to that. The email to which the statement refers is anonymously penned as and is part of a smear campaign orchestrated by a person or persons unknown who simply want to sabotage Mr. Davis' career as president of TWU Local 100. Whether or not this email is part of a smear campaign is speculation. Further, even if it were, that does not mean it lacks a factual basis. The only reason for exhibits in the amended complaint is to create the appearance of established facts and liability prior to any judicial finding of materiality and or relevance. This is speculation and simply not true. The exhibit referred to here contains photographs of the plaintiffs after she was assaulted by Mr. Davis and served to put Mr. Davis on notice of the fact that photographic evidence exists that contain Ms. Hecker's allegations. Exhibit B, much along the same lines as Exhibit A, to create the appearance of liability prior to the establishment of any judicial finding and materiality or relevance, as a demonstration of plaintiff's intent to create a prejudicial environment for this case. The exhibit is labeled by plaintiff in the electronic case file as RD admission and apology, which leaves the viewer of the electronic case file with the impression of something that has not been even remotely established. The deeply personal nature of this note is by its very nature scandalous, and the inclusion in the electronic file case is RD administration and apology is highly prejudicial. This paragraph is complete speculation as to the plaintiff's intent and as to what impression a viewer of the evidence will be left with. The court determines the admissibility of evidence. Let me go to that. Let me go to the next page. Admissibility of evidence, not its credibility, as that determination is reserved for the fact finder. Example, a jury. In addition to defendant, countless individuals will be harmed by this continued presence of the above materials on a publicly available governmental website. There is no explanation as to who these individuals are and how they will be harmed. Conclusion, the defendant's motion to strike must be denied and the affirmation of Attorney Engel must be stricken from the record. The affirmation does not comport with New York law. It is not made upon personal knowledge, and it provides no explanation for the absence of an affirmation from the defendant himself. Further, the defendant's motion and the attorney affirmation are premised on speculation with little to no evidentiary support. The defendant argues that the aforementioned statements made by the plaintiff are scandalous on the sole grounds that they may be politically damaging. This is not a consideration found in CPLR 3024 for striking a matter. It takes a significant amount of hubris to come forth asking the court to protect the reputation of non-parties while baselessly attacking one and the same motion. Attorney Engel deliberately, arrogantly, and through his own admission flouts New York law and procedure with his affirmation. Mr. Engel expressly admits this affirmation is not the appropriate forum for litigating those allegations. Indeed, it is not. Not only is the affirmation not the appropriate forum, as Mr. Engel admits, but on top of that, the affirmation was not even drafted in compliance with New York law, contains speculation, is not made upon personal knowledge, and provides no explanation for Mr. Davis' deafening silence thus far. Richie, why are you so quiet regarding this matter? Wherefore, the defendant's motion, having been brought in bad faith, being non-compliant with statutory requirements, and hypocritically smearing the reputation of non-parties in order to protect his own, must be denied in its entirety, with the defendant ordered to file an answer or otherwise responsive pleading within the time allotted by law or as determined by the court's discretion. That was beautiful. And I want to explain something to you guys. Dennis Engel is a union lawyer. If you go to their website and you see the law that they practice, this is not their wheelhouse. And when you take them away from the kangaroo court that they do in Local 100 when they want to bring somebody up on charges. When you take them away from the MTA kangaroo court, when they use union lawyers like they did in my case to make deals, the deal was obvious with the arbitrator in my case, right? Because like I said, there was a neutral witness in my case that said if he said what he saw, Canella would not have a job. When you take them out of the places where they could be corrupt, you get defenses like what they got. What do I have to do with Richard Davis, according to the lawsuit, beating up his girlfriend in 2015 and 2016? What do I have to do with that? How is that my fault? I mean, that's wild. There's no accountability. And for him, according to Ms. Hecker's lawyer, for him, Dennis Engle, to do the affirmation instead of Richard Davis, that means that Dennis Engle could be called as a witness in this case to testify about something he claims he has knowledge on. What does me and the situation in 2018 have to do with Richard Davis beating up his girlfriend, according to the lawsuit? What does me wanting to run for president have to do with Richard Davis, according to the lawsuit, beating up his girlfriend in 2015 and 2016? I mean, somebody tell me, somebody write in the comments and tell me, what do I have to do with that? Was I that devil on his shoulder? Was I that thing in his head that said, according to the lawsuit, snatch her by her hair and pull her to the floor, or put her in the headlock and punch her on the top of her head? Was I the one, according to the lawsuit, saying that you didn't contribute to the household as a man, really? Was I the one, according to all of these emails that have been floating around way before Richard Davis became appointed president of Local 100, of all of these women that you allegedly had sexual relations with, because you was able to release some of them? And that's all alleged. But that been floating around for a very long time. Not only when you became president. And don't forget, Richie, when we had that meeting, when it was me, you, and you had your guy Fred Jackson with you, and you told him to go for a walk while me and you had a 3-hour conversation in the restaurant. And you told me yourself that you were worried about some type of allegations coming up against you. That was your concern. You were the one who told me that you was mad at John Samuelson because Samuelson promoted your ex Nicole Hecker without your consent. You was the one who was upset that you could not control her professional life and make her feel like she owed you something so you could continue to control her. When you lost that control, you knew that it was possible that something was going to come out. You knew that. You was the one who told me that LaTanya was your best friend and she knows all your secrets. That was you, sir. And that you was mad at her because she sided with your ex in the breakup. None of those things have, none of that has nothing to do with me. Take accountability for what you did. And guess what, people? Everyone who's watching, I ain't even get to the juicy part yet. I got a document that was never seen before, that was leaked to me. from somebody who Richard Davis trusts. See, the thing is, and when I met with Richie, that time, I told him that you got to watch out for people. You're a black president. I mean, he knew he was going to get appointed at that time. I said, they're going to come for you. You're not going to get the same opportunities as a Samuelson and as a Utano. I explicitly told you that. And you have people around you who is actively working against you and rocking with me. The same way how that letter leaked that of the secret side deal that you signed with management. Anything regarding you is leaking. They not messing with you, bruh. And I tried to warn you. I tried to be your ally. But for some strange reason, whoever was advising you at the time told you to read my text message at the mass membership meeting. And then basically loosely threatened me at the mass membership meeting. And then a couple of weeks later, I get jumped at Bedford Park. Why didn't y'all never post the mass membership meeting? Normally they'll post the president's speech. Why, Richie, why you never posted your speech? With the part when you was reading the text message and you went on and on and on. Because you knew that was going to be used as evidence. Whoever advised you of that made a horrible, horrible decision. Now, I know I got the phone number up here. I'm going to hook up the phone lines in a second. Richie, I tried to help you. But you showed your true colors, not only after the mass membership meeting, but when you knew that I was jumped at Bedford Park. And then you went into the newspaper less than 24 hours later as my union president, writing a statement against me. And that statement that you wrote against me, management used it against me because it was you and your team who got this story in the newspaper. It was you who put a quote out in the newspaper. It's nobody else. It was nobody else. And before I get to this document, I want to pull something up. Where did I put this at? I want to ask the officers of Local 100. I want to know who y'all are. Y'all vocal about everything here. It says it clear. A TWU Local 100 rep said that Davis will not be resigning from his position and claims the president still enjoys the support of union officers. Who are those union officers? Because after I read this next document, I want you guys to stand up and stand strong. Who are y'all? Now, today I sent the email to two of the top women in Local 100 to ask them where they stand. Let me see if they responded before I go crazy. Shout out to my boy Edward Acosta. Thank you for the Cash App. Hold on one second. Let me see. They have yet to respond. I sent the email to Latanya Crisp and Shirley Martin. I asked them what are their position as far as these allegations. They have yet to respond. Who are these officers who support him? Where are y'all at? I don't want to hear that the officers, or who said that? Was it you, Latanya? Could it be you, Shirley? Is it you, Witchard? Is it Chiarello? Who is it? Is it you, JP? Because JP been skinning and grinning in Richard Davis pictures lately. But when I release this next document, I want to see how many of you guys and are going to stand next to him. And the silence is going to say a lot, because silence is compliance. You're standing next to a creep. Richard Davis is unhinged, hypersexual, creep. And this next document is going to prove that. Now, before I get into this next document, let me set up my phone lines, because just in case somebody want to call in and say what they got to say. So do me a favor while I'm setting up my phone lines. I want you guys to please share out the show and tell people to tune in. Give me like 2 minutes. Trust me, it's going to be well worth it. I'm going to set this whole thing up very nice for you guys. Give me a sec. Share out the show. I'm going to get to it. We're going to expose this creep. Like I said, share out the show. We're going to expose this creep. Oh, yeah. Now that the phone lines are up and running. Give me a second. Bluetooth. Let me see something.
Blog Talk Radio.
The phone lines are open, people. Now, I'm going to show you guys how much of a creep this guy is. I'm going to show you guys how much of a creep this guy is. Shout out to Vita. Thank you for the Cash App. I'm shouting out all Cash Apps. Shouting out all Cash Apps tonight. Oh, let me get this paper. Let me put y'all on to what this creep did. Let me see. Oh, snap. I cannot post that. I cannot post that. I just realized that it got some. I'm gonna have to edit it. Give me 1 second, guys. It got an address on there. I can't expose people addresses. I cannot expose people addresses. So let me just So let me just make sure that that's right. But I don't know how this guy trusts anybody when the people is directly work. Oh, snap. And it says, oh, y'all go love this. Y'all go love this. So let me resend this back in. Y'all going to love this. Let me just make this right. Because I don't want to have a lawsuit. You know, I can't post people addresses, especially if I'm getting stuff that I'm not supposed to be getting. I don't want a lawsuit. But yeah, let me grab that. All right, let me delete this one. All right. So I want to make something clear. This guy, I want to see y'all how y'all go support him after this. How are you guys going to support him after this? So guess what? I got my hands on the investigation from his sexual harassment complaint. So now all the pieces is coming together. What I seen a few people asking, and I couldn't figure it out myself. Why did she wait so long to file this lawsuit? So when I got my hands on his paperwork, I had to go back to the original complaint and read like, wow, I think she didn't speak to him since like 2017. So she ain't speak to him from 2017, but it seems as if they spoke not recently, sometime last year, according to this document, and there was some type of complaint filed, right? Now, I'm going to read to you guys what this complaint says, right? Confidential communication, CCF's investigators findings, right? This is to Miss Hecker. We write on behalf of the TWU Local 100 New York City Transit Child Care Fund Board of Trustees. The purpose of this confidential communication is to inform you of the findings of independent investigator Elena Kakavas. And why that name sounds so familiar? What's the name? Elena Kavakas, in connection with the complaint you made via email on March 24th, 2023. Ms. Kakavas was retained by the CCF Board of Trustees to investigate your complaint against Richard Davis. Pursuant to the advice of Ms. Kavakas, as well as your obligation under the CCF Employee Manual, please be mindful of the confidential nature of the investigative process. Now, before I continue, she filed this complaint via email on March 24th, 2023. That was before contract negotiations. This ruling came out October 31st, 2023. Let me finish reading before I lose my, let me finish reading. On January 6, 2023, during a discussion with Mr. Davis, he made one inappropriate comment of a sexual nature to you. There is insubstantial evidence to support a finding that Mr. Davis intentionally engaged in action to sexually harass you or otherwise create a hostile work environment. Mr. Davis' isolated action does not meet the standard for establishing a hostile work environment. Further, Mr. Davis' actions was influenced by his past personal relationship with you and the casualness of the off-the-record discussion in which you were both engaged in. There's insufficient evidence to establish that you were subjected to intimidation in the workplace or by Mr. Davis. You were not the subject of retaliation. Let me go to the next page, because I'm going to connect all these dots for you guys. The CCF Board of Trustees is committed to workplace free of sexual harassment based on any protected characteristic, intimidation, or retaliation. Mr. Davis will be reminded of his obligation to adhere to the fund's anti-harassment, anti-retaliation property. Please note that in addition to the CTF internal complaint procedure, you may exercise your right to file a complaint or charge with the New York State Department of Human Rights, New York City Commission. Additionally, all right, so they basically just say where she could file a complaint. But I wanna go of this. I want to go to the, hold on. Now, where it says on January 6, 2023, during the discussion with Mr. Davis, he made one inappropriate comment of sexual nature to you. This is what this alleged independent investigator found, that on January 6, 2023, during a discussion with Mr. Davis, he made one inappropriate comment of a sexual nature to you, right? And she's saying that because that Davis had a past personal relationship with her, and the casualness of the off the record discussion, that it was okay for him to make the comment. Now, let's go back to what the comment was that he said. Let me go back to, let me put myself back on the screen for a second. Let me go back to the screen for a second. So the arbitrator found that he made an inappropriate comment. And I want to remind you guys what that comment is. Give me a second. Let me go back to that case. Complaint amended. All right, let me put this back on the screen for you guys. Why is that going crazy? Oh, let me get this thing back together. What was it? What is it? Let me go back to what the comment was that he made. And I'm just piecing this together. I found a comment. Hold on one second. Let me copy and paste this. I don't know why this thing is acting pretty crazy, but it is what it is. So if you look at number 25, further, as recently as January of 2023, see, once again, the complaint was made, or the statement, whatever he said to her, was said in January of 2023. The defendant feeling very comfortable and emboldened in his position as president of TW Local 100, while at a work meeting with multiple other employees present, referred, the plaintiff stated that she's smart, can type 100 words per minute, and I like the way my penis feels inside her vagina. That's what he said. And that's exactly what the arbitrator, or the alleged neutral investigator, that's what she found. That he said that. Look at that. Look at the first statement. On January 6, 2023, during a discussion with Mr. Davis, he made one inappropriate comment of a sexual nature to you. So he admitted that he said, I like the way my penis feels inside her vagina. And this alleged neutral arbitrator, whoever she is, investigator, said that it's okay basically because they had a prior relationship. Think about that. Think about that. They had a prior relationship, so it's okay for him to say, I like the way my penis feels inside her vagina. Now, one would say, how did he get away with this? How is that not sexual harassment? How I mean, it's beyond me. Now I gotta let me see if I can find something. Let me see if I can find something. I want to see cause that lady names sounds so familiar. I don't know if it's because I seen, oh, what's this in here? Let me see. Oh, here we go right here. Wait, is this it? Oh, I got it. That's where that came from. That's where that came from. So check this out, guys. This is going to blow y'all mind. This is going to blow y'all mind. Why is this thing? Hold on a sec. I got to get this stable. Hold on a second. Why did that turn over? But why did that Kavakas? Why is this doing this? Hold on a second. Why is this doing this? Oh, why is that like that? That's crazy. I'm going to tell y'all why this sounds so familiar. I'm going to tell y'all why this sounds so familiar. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Show template. Let me show y'all why this sounds so familiar. Why did Kavakas sound so familiar? Let me get it on the screen. Let me get it on the screen for you guys. How do I clear this? I can't get it on the screen for some reason. But let me just delete that. Delete that. But this Kavakas is in the LM2s. She's in the LM2s, believe it or not. That's why she sounds so familiar. So why would she come up with a decision like that? She's in the LM2s. And it makes absolutely great sense as to why the fix was in against Miss Hecker. It makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense, people. We see exactly what's going on. We see exactly what's going on. And the fix was in the whole entire time against her. The whole entire time the fix was in. Let me see if anybody calling in and they want to talk about it. The fix was in the whole entire time. So how was it supposed to work? Somebody tell me how. Somebody tell me how. This guy is a creep. But y'all support him. But y'all support him. How is that supposed to work? Somebody explain to me, how is that supposed to work? This letter that you see on the